All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another amazing chat and learn with Power to Fly. We're super excited to get started with today's event. But before we do, I just want to go over some quick housekeeping items for everyone. Apologies if you have joined us in the past. This will be kind of old hat. But one of the things that we want to make sure is super clear, whether you're a returning community member or new to Power to Fly, is that participation is key in these events. So we want to make sure that you are able to participate in as many different ways as you would like to. So if you have questions or comments or anything that you'd like to raise, you are more than welcome to come off mute and do so. You don't have to have your cameras turned on. Don't sweat it. If you do want to, we obviously encourage it. I love seeing new, fat, maskless faces safely in quarantine. But please don't feel any pressure if you don't want to. Now, if you do come off mute for whatever reason, you will show up on the live recording of today's session. But if you have privacy concerns, it's not a big deal. You can still participate. You're just going to put any questions or comments you have into the group chat on Zoom. And if you'd like your question or comment raised, but you'd like to be kept anonymous, that is totally fine. Just send a DM to me. You can pick my name from the drop-down menu. I just realized I never changed it. So you'll be looking for Meg Alexander in the drop-down menu. So to that, like I mentioned, we are recording today. So if you have, it's a nice thing to know about. So that way, if you, miss a couple minutes or you aren't quite sure what somebody just said, you don't have to take notes and you don't have to worry about, asking if people can repeat themselves. You can always go back and review the recording later. But if something happens today and Brian comes off with some like tidbit of information that is just mind-blowing to you, you cannot wait to share it with a friend or a coworker or a relative, that is super awesome and we want to encourage that. So everyone that registered, whether you joined today, if you came and had to duck out early, or if you were here for the whole time, doesn't matter. Everybody that registered is going to get an email in about 1 to 2 business days from Power to Fly, and it'll have a link to where you can rewatch today's recording on our website. Now, if you need to send that or share that tidbit immediately and you don't want to wait 1 to 2 days, that's okay. You can always head over to our YouTube channel. I'll share the link with you for that in the chat thread in just a moment. But you can always head over to our YouTube channel. We have the recordings are usually posted there within about 5 to 15 minutes of the end of each session. And we have a huge catalog of our previous chat and learns in that same account. So you can go through and search and watch everything you'd like to. I highly recommend you subscribe to our YouTube channel, but you can also keep up with us on other social media channels as well. We are at Power to Fly on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And you can always, you can always take photos and video as we go. Let people in your social networks know that you are learning with Power to Fly. We're always really excited to see those posts. We like to retweet, we like to share them because we want to keep growing our community. We want to make sure that these resources get to as many people as possible. So with all of that covered, I'm really excited to get started on today's guest. Now, Brian is going to be here on behalf of JW Player. Now, they are a really great partner company that Powerfly has loved working with for the last couple of years. And they are, one of the things that I'm showing you right now is a link. There's what their Power to Fly company page looks like. Now, I'm going to send you the link to that in a moment, but one thing to know when you go to this page is that this is a really good place to not only take out and look at more information about the company. There's information there about their company values and all kinds of stuff, so you can always check that out. The other thing is to take a look at their open roles. So you can check out what roles are open. You can also look at events. That'll show you what previous events JW Player has partnered with us for, as well as what events they're going to be participating in the future. So if you have an upcoming interview with JW Player, it would be a really good way to get a little bit more familiarity about the company so that you can kind of strut your stuff in that interview. Now, if you are interested in JW Player, but aren't quite sure, maybe you're not actively job seeking, or maybe you just don't see anything right now that interests you, at the top right-hand side of the screen of JW Player's company page, there will be a little field. It either says I'm interested or follow. Clicking that is going to do a couple really great things for you, but basically what it does is it works like your friend at the company. So it's going to tell JW Player that you are interested in working with them even before you fill out a job application, but it's also going to keep them on your radar. So it's going to tell you when they post new roles. So especially if you are actively seeking but don't see anything, I absolutely recommend you you take advantage of that feature of Powerfly. Totally free, follow and unfollow at will as many times as you like. But it's a really good way to make sure that awesome companies like JW Player, you know, that you think about these companies the next time you do go to either restart your job search or just want to take a look around and see what's out there. So, oh wait, hold on. Sorry guys, I just realized I never sent you the link to that page. So there that is in the chat. Now I'm really excited to introduce our speaker. Brian Rifkin is a co-founder and senior VP of strategic partnerships with JW Player. They are a global video platform that is trusted by the world's leading media companies and brands. Now, as a digital veteran, Brian has over 2 decades worth of experience working for companies on the cutting edge of tech. And prior to co-founding JW Player, he served as president of A Simple Internet, which was a media services firm founded in 2001, specializing in digital marketing. So Brian started his career at About.com, serving as a senior VP of business development. And he currently serves as a mentor at the Entrepreneurs Roundtable Accelerator, or ERA. Brian holds a bachelor's in business administration from the University of Pittsburgh, and we are so happy to have you join us today. So welcome, Brian.
Thank you, Meg.
Now, before we get going into the questions for today, I know that you wanted to give us a quick rundown on JW Player or what y'all are all about. So why don't I stop sharing? That way you can, you know, kind of chat to the audience a little bit. And then when you're done, we will come back and get started on questions.
Yeah, that would be great. This is going to just be a few short slides, but I wanted to give everyone a quick overview of what JW Player does so you can have some context. So first and foremost, our mission. So at JW Player, our mission is to combine a powerful video experience with unique insights to help brands and media companies drive growth and loyalty. And for us, this all started with an open source video player. So you may be familiar with that. For those, you may know the logo, but that is the original YouTube logo from about 2005. And that's one of the YouTube founders out in the video. That's the first video ever uploaded to YouTube. And the player there is a JW Player. So we've been around for a while. We're about 15 years old, a little bit more than that. And we started back then as an open source player. And as a result of that, we have one of the most successful open source video projects of all time. Our license has changed a bit, but as you can see, right from the beginning, YouTube is using us on their site. And from there, we've had a pretty strong product-driven growth through a history of innovation. So back in 2004, we helped customers like YouTube run their video across devices. So it wasn't just about a desktop or a laptop. It was really about tablet and mobile. And that was really difficult then. We had standards-based advertising in 2009. Prior to that, an advertiser like Clorox would send their video to a website like YouTube and say, hey, run this before your content. And then we built API-powered delivery, which is really interesting. If you think about some of our larger customers, like a Univision, they build all of their own workflow. They don't think about how video is going, who they're going to use for video. They build their own workflow. And for them to then use our system and have all their team go into ours, it's much more difficult than offering an API, which we can plug right into their workflows. So that really expanded video for JW Player. And the last thing we did was starting 2016, which is focused on data. It was always about video intelligence. You see the words data out there everywhere. You'll see how we use it across our network. So we do this through 4 products. We have Play. What people may know us for is the JW Player, the actual video player. It's what you see out there. That's the web player. We put it in apps through SDKs. We put it in connected TV through OTT apps. But below that, we've got a bunch of other products. We've got Stream, so how we deliver the video for our customers. We have a live version on that. So if you want to stream live, we could do that. And then we have content protection. So think about a big sports team or a big movie studio. They don't want their content stolen. They want to protect it, and we offer that service. The third pillar of our products is Monetize. So most of our customers need to make money either through advertising or through subscriptions, and we help them do that through our technology and the partnerships in our ecosystem. And then the last thing coming back is Engage. It's about using our data to deliver products that help our customers. So that might be article matching, maybe recommendations, or video analytics. Good example of that is if you were watching this on a VOD, you'd be able to know where this conversation got really boring and all the users dropped off. So when you go rebuild the next piece of content, you can get them to engage more and stay longer. So we do all that data, creates some unique insights and products that reinforce each other, creates this unique differentiation for JW Player. This is what we think is what separates us from others. Among all our customers, we take the data, whether it's a recommendation product to generate more video views or article matching, or understanding on the data side, the audience trends and our peer benchmarks. And we create new products, understanding what our customers use. And those new products create a cycle of creating more customers, higher retention. So it's this network effect that we've built, and we've done that based on the scale that we have. We do this we focus on 3 different kinds of customers. And this is where you'll see us. You may not know our name, JW Player, but you'll know most of our customers. I always like to say we're a bit like the Intel Inside, but instead of it being a computer, we're a video player. You don't see our brand, but we're everywhere. So for publishers, we offer video shorts and live events. They focus on the web, mobile, and desktop, and they're primarily advertising based. Then we have a category called broadcasters, video series, live events. Think about all the connected TV apps out there. And then they also have advertising based revenue, and they have subscriptions as well. A lot of times it's a hybrid. And the third one that's been really interesting during the pandemic has been media-like verticals. We also run video series and live events. They're mobile app and web. They have SVOD monetization. These are education, learning management systems, fitness classes. All of them have come online in the last year, if they haven't been there, to offer their services. So we do this worldwide. We're a global company. We have more employees right now outside the US. We sue outside the US than inside the US. We're the #1 source of videos outside the walled gardens. The walled gardens we consider Facebook, YouTube, Snap. We have 2.7 billion unique monthly devices that use the JW Player with 10,000 leading brands. And all of this, the business that we have today is based on our core values, which we have 6 of, and we take them quite seriously and focus on them. They're customer first. Let's do everything for the customer to make sure that they're happy, because that's what drives our business. Caring openly, and this is really important, giving people direct feedback and caring for them personally at the same time is the best way to grow. We're ownership driven. This is all about everyone in the company is an owner. We don't believe in that it's not my job. Everyone just has to dig in. We cultivate learning. This is always about growing. This is a life strategy where we acknowledge we don't understand something and we learn it. We share success, all about the team, winning and losing together. And the last one is championing diversity and inclusion, because we do believe that diversity fosters a better workplace. So I wanted to give you that quick overview and now hand it back to Meg to get into the Q&A.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Brian. That gave us a really, really good understanding of, JW Player. And I think hopefully that'll be helpful for people as they kind of contextualize your experience with starting a company. So, okay. What I'm showing you right now, let's see. Yeah. What I'm showing you right now are some of the principal themes that we're going to try and cover in today's conversation. Now, we identified these both with conversations with Brian, as well as by looking at the questions that you all submitted ahead of today's session. Just know that this is what we're going to try and hit, but if you asked a question and you want to make sure it gets answered, the easiest and fastest and smartest way to do that is to ask it again. So please feel free to come off mute if you would like to do so. We ask that you don't interrupt Brian or one of our other attendees, but you are more than welcome to interrupt me since I get paid to fill silence. But just make sure that if you do have a question, you either ask it live, you can ask it in group chat, or you can DM it to me and I will ask your question and keep you anonymous. This is also especially important if we go over one of your questions, but maybe we're not coming at it from the right angle. You are always encouraged to give us some more context or details that you think might help us get to a better answer for you. So we're going to talk about some of the ABCs of how to start a new business, also some ways to identify your own business's red flags. We're going to talk about how you can strategically network and build partnerships that are going to be helpful to you, as well as how testing, risk evaluation, and failure can help you to overcome challenges in your business. So like I said, this is what we're going to try and hit, but you came here to spend time with us, and everybody that's here on the live recording, you took time out of your day to be here. So we want to make sure that the time that you spend with Power to Fly and JW Player is well worth it. So please feel free to ask questions if and when you have them. All right, Brian, so to get us started with the questions today, a lot of people had concerns or had questions regarding the pitches. Now, what you gave us as like a brief overview of JW Player is clearly not like a pitch that you would have if you were starting your company from scratch. But let's talk a little bit about how you should structure a pitch when you are explaining this idea to others. And if once we have that framework, let's talk a little bit about what that pitch looks like if it changes based on your audience. If you're talking to, friends and family or something versus trying to convince investors.
Yeah, sure. So I always tell people to get their elevator pitch down, because no one has any focus these days and everyone has a short attention span. So you have to figure out what that elevator pitch is and bounce it off people and let them tell you what's wrong about it and refine it and refine it and refine it. And then develop those pitches for your audience too. It's all about who you're speaking to and modifying that pitch, probably just a little bit. It might only be a word or two, or it might be an extra sentence to that audience. But I always recommend, one, getting your elevator pitch down. Two, if you think about now you're going to get in front of an investor and really sit down with them and have more than a few minutes. It's the pitch overall should be very simple. There's a vision and value. There's a problem and a solution. There's your target market and your traction. And then there's your team and how you're going to use money. And if you break it down to those four, there's a few categories, 3 things within each, but you're going to cover what you need. And it keeps it really concise, really direct. The one thing I always try to tell people is you have to figure out how to trim it down and get the message across in a concise way, because that's how you reach someone. That's how you also reach a lot of people.
I absolutely love that. So when you were working on these pitches, how often did you refine them? Did you ever get to a point where you're like, yeah, this is solid, this is good, this is what I'm going to go with? Or were you basically constantly reiterating?
It's fluid. It's a constant reiteration. You always feel like you get to the right part, and then there's always a change. I'm laughing about it because at this point we have people that help design our presentations, and when you have to go back to someone, I've been in situations where I was like, well, let me try to just change this on my own and design it, because I've had to change something quickly, and it probably looks a lot worse. I know it looks a lot worse because I have poor design skills, but I needed to change. I needed to update something. I needed to update some information that was valuable just because it's so fluid.
There we go. Now I've been able to unmute myself. Okay, so when you're talking about forming a business, obviously JW Player grew humongously from like just the idea that you had, but what is the most important thing to consider when you are getting the business started, especially if you're thinking about incorporating?
Sure. So I guess I should probably talk about this path as someone that wants to go out there and raise money and get into the VC fundraising world eventually to build your business and scale it. And meaning someone else is going to put money in. And if you're going to look at it from that standpoint, just to get into the weeds of what you should be doing, there's a few different ways you can create a business in the United States. And venture capitalists like what's called a C corporation. There's S corps, there's C corps, there's LLCs. And the reason they like that is because of the treatment of the stock, and the treatment of the stock options that they give to their employees. And there's tax advantages along the way for them. So if you're really saying, I'm thinking about a business and I've got all the pieces in place and I'm ready to go start, a C corp is, and I'm going to go eventually raise money. A C corp is usually the way to go. You could do that online. There's a lot of easy solutions to go do that today.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you for breaking that down, because I feel like that's something that might not immediately be clear to a lot of people that are considering starting a business. Now, let's talk about, kind of getting started. Well, do you think that there were any real common mistakes that new entrepreneurs make Because I feel like this is something that was probably rife with like 10, top 10 lists of like things not to do. But in your experience specifically, did you make any mistakes that could have been avoided or that you see people still making to this day?
Right. So I always make mistakes. I make mistakes most days. Sometimes they're worse than others. So everyone should know that we're all going to make mistakes. I think that's what our humans do. So most of the time they make mistakes. It's just about how severe they may be at times. But if I were to look at anything, it's about when you're in a startup, you're going really fast, and sometimes you can go too fast and not focus on some of the fundamentals of how you want to grow that business. You may only talk about them and lay out your values, vision, but you're not putting enough time implementing what really is core and fundamental to your business, because you may be focused on something else that you think needs to be done today, or we need to work, or I'm not moving fast enough on this. And so some of those things are the hiring process. You're gonna hire more people, and you need to build a good hiring process, and you need to ensure that everyone that you hire becomes part of the hiring process. Because the people you're going to all interact together. This is the team you're building. So whatever that may be, you want, as you build, you want to really focus on what that hiring process and allocating enough time and resources across your team so everyone can work on that. That, right? Like PowerPoints, that's an ongoing process. It never ends. You are always going to be hiring. Documenting is another one. I think that's really important.
Yeah,
so
documenting.
Just like documenting, I'm sure everyone will raise their hand and say, I don't document enough. So there's only a few companies we work with that I'm always amazed when they're the best documenters. But it's really important. That's part of the culture. So if you can almost upfront establish, we're going to spend X% of our time just making sure we document what we do, because it'll just help. It'll enable process as we scale. It will become easier. That's really important. And then another one is how you're going to build that culture. Cultures just don't show up. You have to build it. So you have to put the time in, you have to put the research in, you have to really think about what that culture is going to be. And as the founders help establish that culture when they start, but it's really that original team of the first 25 to 50 people that are going to shape your culture.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something that we talk about all the time here, is about how like things like excellent DEI practices or a good company culture, it's like a garden. You have an empty lot, and if you do nothing to it, yeah, stuff's going to grow, but it's not going to look like this like beautiful garden that you have planned out in your head. So yeah, there's always that effort required, and these things don't happen organically. You have to create the situations that will keep that culture going and growing organically.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think it's harder than ever right now because of the pandemic, to maintain your culture. I know that employees and team members who have joined JW Player after the pandemic versus before have a different perception. And it's something that we're focused on as a business, and we're always trying to improve. And in the end, getting people together face to face probably is the best way to move it forward. So as we emerge from this and we have more people that are working home and hybrids, it'll be interesting to see how companies make the effort to put people together, even if it's once or twice a year, to just forge that culture and develop the relationships with each other.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Power to Fly is completely remote and distributed. I think I've met, in the 3 years I've worked for them, I think I've met maybe 5 people that I work with.
Yeah.
But we're having a virtual team retreat on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. It's like 4 hours each day, to make sure that we are all able to kind of get together and really touch base, and not only just like meet so many new team members that came on that we otherwise have no idea who's now part of the team. But you're right, it is very important to have that touchstone, so that your company and the people within it feel like they are all part of one culture.
That's correct. Like I said, I think that this will be one of the big themes over the next few years of how Zoom or Google Meets or virtual reality enables it like you do in person, because like you said, there's most teams are very distributed these days, especially in the tech world.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if you're, starting a small business, you might not have the luxury of hiring, somebody that works, in your area. You might have to, based on budgets or whatever, you might have to go look to a different area of the country, different area of the world. And having that flexibility is hugely important,
Yeah.
and, really something that's of value.
Right. For us, we like looking around the world, meaning that we aren't tied to just one regional area. And I think a lot of companies realize that by doing that, it opens their business up to more talent. And it's something that a lot of companies haven't really thought about up till 2 years ago. And now it's one of those, oh, I didn't realize that we could do this. This is a game changer for us. We can really go seek the talent that we want, regardless of their location.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so stepping backwards a little bit, let's say before you're ready to, try and hire employees or get to your first 25 or your first 50, we had a lot of people saying that they either have started their businesses this year or they are planning on starting. And a lot of people's concerns were around keeping companies profitable, right? And obviously, especially with a new business, you're going to fluctuate a lot between profit and loss. Do you have any kind of like baseline tips for keeping that business profitable in the first year, first 3 years, first 5?
Yeah. So this is my third business startup, and one has failed. And my dad used to say, "Sell more, spend less." Simple as that. He's like, that's the formula to keep your business alive. It's much easier said than done. Much easier said than done. So what I say is, you got to find the consistent, sustainable revenue. You got to find, and it's not going to be something that's going to be with you 5 or 10 years from now, but that initial revenue that's going to get you through, and it might be many different things that get you there. But it's whatever that is, focus on it, because without that, everything else becomes a bit paralyzed. That has to be in place first. So what I trust is focus on it if you could find that in those first years, and it'll help drive your product. It'll help give you the time to focus on your expenses as well, and where you're spending your money. But try to find that, and don't be discouraged if it goes away and you need to find another one. If you feel like you're onto something and you believe in it, just keep going. But try to find some kind of consistent revenue in those first years.
Do you think that consistent revenue needs to be within your business, or do you think that consistent revenue could be like a side hustle or something that is more consistent as far as profits go?
Absolutely could be. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, I've seen many people start their business up as they're working somewhere and said, "This is what I want to do. I'm putting in all my time, but on the weekends and at nights, this is what I'm doing to get there." And that is theoretically a way to fund it. No doubt about it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so if you are just starting out, somebody, a lot of people's impressions of businesses come from brand awareness, right? How do you achieve that kind of brand awareness or find your customer base? Is there, like a basic tenet of like, here's how you go about it, or are there many different ways to approach it?
So I think there's many different ways to approach it. JW Player is a very unique case. That player you saw on YouTube, and like all of our players, they right click back to our site. And I wish I could take credit. So JW Player, to give you a little bit more background, there's 3 co-founders, and there's an actual JW. His name's Jerome Weisering. So Jerome built this. And the great backstory is, if everybody remembers Flash and Flash files, someone sent him a Flash file, just one to play, and there was no player out there to play the Flash. It was all Windows Media and real players. And so he built this while he was in school as his first project. And that's how it went. That it sort of took off from there. But what he did was he right-clicked the player, so it linked back to his site and got the SEO traffic. And that at the time was just, the timing was right. And it's was one of the few products out there and really spun up. So what I would say is, you need to find where your target market lives. But as much of a monopoly as people may say Google is, it still is free traffic if you SEO properly and get set up properly and build great content and build great information. You'll generate free traffic from them. It's pretty amazing. It's one of those things about going back and build your garden and just let it grow. Just make sure that it's set up right and just let it happen. It's an amazing thing still in the digital world that you can generate so much free traffic from Google, if you think about it. With that being said, social media still drives great results for marketers. So whether it's Facebook or Snap or TikTok, using one of those may be where you find your audience as well. But if you use those, usually you're gonna have to spend a bit more money.
Yeah, and that's definitely something to consider. Actually, we even had a question regarding this. Let's see if I can find it in the list down here. A lot of people, so one person wrote in saying, I don't have the budget to invest in marketing on Instagram or Facebook. Is it possible to start a business without a social media strategy?
I think so. I think that I think just build your free presence on there, getting it up there, have, plant your flag and say, here's my site on Insta and Facebook. You don't have to spend the money, but just make sure you water it, meaning like as you put out new content or more information, make sure it lives there too. So an audience finds it and they'll find you. People will find you. Search is an amazing thing, whether it's on social or on Google. People don't realize how much they search in a given day.
Oh my God, so much. Seriously. Like wait for the Wi-Fi to go out and you'll realize exactly how much you rely on your phone. Because here's the thing. They're here to stay. Nobody's really going to change that, I don't think. But it's really something that touches every aspect of your life.
That's right.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about mistakes that you can make when starting a new business. But can you share with us an example of a failure in your journey, either with JW Player or any of your other companies, that surprisingly led to a positive result? I think that there's a lot of people right now looking to kind of make lemonade out of lemons, and a lot of people trying to make lemonade out of nothing. So, what do you think was your biggest, this messed up or this didn't go the way I wanted it to, but it ended up being very beneficial to you in the end?
Yeah. So I could talk about my failed company. It was called Music Drive. And think about back in the early 2000s, there's no iPhone. There's only iPod comes out. And all of a sudden, and prior to that, we were all in a CD world. So I'm a bit of a music nut and I had all these live shows of different bands I liked with a bunch of my other friends. And all of a sudden the iPod came out so we could listen to all of it on our phone. And as a result of that, you need to store all of this online. And no laptop or desktop had more than 20, 30 gigs max. So everyone had external drives. And what I was finding with myself and all my friends is you'd load all your music on there and then the drive would crash and you'd lose all your music and it would take months to go back and find what it was. So created this thing called iMusic Drive that had 2 drives in it. It was really simple. It just automatically backed up your drives, and it was an external drive because that wasn't being offered at the time, if you could believe, from any of the drive manufacturers. So I built that, and I probably spent a year on it, and then closed it just because I really didn't think about building hardware. It was one of the stupidest things I could have done. Looking back, I had no experience at it. I didn't know what I was doing, but it was an amazing failure for me. That became really positive. And at the time when you're going through it, if anyone on this call has, it doesn't feel that good. It feels pretty rough to be honest. But what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And that became a catalyst for me to focus on what I'm good at, where I'm good at it, and find the right team members to do it with. And that led me to JW Player.
Yeah, that's absolutely critical, right? Is to have those team members that can bring something to the table that you don't have. It's the most binary version of, or simplistic version of, like, kind of having that culture fit or having like skills fit, because you're trying to fill a gap, right? You have an issue, you have either a subject matter that needs an expert, or some task that needs to be accomplished by somebody other than the person that's handling basically everything else. So yeah, I think that's really great advice.
It's a critical decision.
Yeah.
The team, your original founders, it's really important that not only do you have comparable talents and not as much of an overlapping talent. I think that's really important. But you need to like who you're going to be a partner with, and a team. Whoever's going to be your founder, you have to like them, and you have to be prepared to know that when you have a drag out fight, like the end of the world is coming, drag out fight, that you're still our partners afterwards. And if you don't think you could do that, don't be a partner with it, because the breakup's going to be much worse.
Oh yeah. Just so asking on a personal note, like, or, it wasn't something everybody else wrote in, but for you, how do you define failure? You said you've started 3 businesses and one failed, but what does that mean to you when you say that?
So failed is I didn't make money on it. I had to shut it down. It wasn't a profitable business. So that's how I describe it. I don't know if I like the word failure that much. Just shut it, whatever it is. But because I look back at it and I have a big smile on my face. I recently just moved and found some old stickers from it, and it brought me such joy to see it, even though it didn't work out and I lost money on it and everything that you hear about when they don't work. But I don't know if that answered your question, but
no, absolutely. I mean, yeah. I have started businesses in the past, and I don't have any running currently, but I found business cards that we printed up, I think like, God, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that. And I ran across them while cleaning out my closet. And it's one of those things that, like, I'm sad it didn't work out, but also, like, it was fun while it lasted. It was a good, something I had a good time working on and trying to build, and taught me a lot about, like you said, the person that you go into business with that relationship is incredibly important.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And it's what you said is right too, where it's about the journey. That's important too. The journey matters. This is all about sort of being in the now. This is what we're going through, whether it's good and bad. It's not always about trying to get to some finish line. I'm going to sell this company. I'm going to do that, or I'm going to do this. It's really about just focused on building a great company and a great product and a great team.
So looking back, do you think that your previous experiences, both good and bad, really informed you and helped to make JW Player what it became? Or do you think that you could have started JW Player as your first company and still gotten it where it is?
No, absolutely not. It definitely, the education along the way helps. It helped. And I was probably too immature at the time to start a company. Well, you saw it with iMusic Drive, iMusic Drive. I wasn't able to get that out of the gate. And I just probably before that wasn't ready to take on a business that scales like JW Player has.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's all about whatever experience you have along the way. It's being able to take something from it, the good and the bad, and applying it to the next thing you do.
Yeah, that's something that my parents have always said to me that always really stuck with me was, something like an experience can be good, it can be bad, but as long as you learn something from it, it's not a waste. It's not a waste of your time. It's not a waste of your talents. As long as you are learning something either about yourself or about, learning something from the experience, that's pivotal. So, yeah. All right. So let's say you are in completely like very, very early stages of forming this business. How do you really determine if your business idea could make a successful startup? It feels like something that's, kind of like trying to pinpoint your own weaknesses. It seems like something really hard to do in a vacuum.
Yeah.
But how do you determine this?
Yeah. I think what can happen when you have a great idea is you can get tunnel vision for this. Wow, this is going to be amazing. Look at what it solves. This could be huge. And a lot of times you sort of don't look at it from the opposite way, which is what are all the problems with this idea? And some of the most successful people look at it that opposite way. What are all the problems? But what you can do to figure that out is test, and then test some more, and then test again. And it's one of the things that we always talk about is how do we test ideas in the most minimally viable way, so we exert the least amount of resources and energy to validate. And your test may be small steps along the way. Well, if it's A or B, if it's A, I'm going to go this way. If it's B, I'm going to go that way. And then you just keep going and hitting these different forks in the road. But really the only way to understand if you have something is figuring out a way to test it.
Okay. So when you say figure out a way to test it, in terms of like, let's say you're making a product, like a physical product, does that mean, coming up with, like a prototype and, getting that out in the world? that makes a lot more sense, or, makes a ton of sense because it's concrete. But if you have a business like, like the music or iMusic Drive we're talking about, like if you have something that is more of a like platform or something that's not concrete, what do you mean when you say like start testing?
Yeah. That's a good point. So yeah, with iMusic Drive, I was able to give this out to my friends and family, and they told me everything that was wrong with it. But if you're building some digital platform or product, the question is what you need to think about what the outcome is of it. What are you trying to build? And if there's still a way for you to build an MVP of that, a minimally viable product, not with all the bells and whistles you're envisioning, it just does A and B. And if it does A and B, at least we'll get people to use it, and we can at least have them try it. That's a great way to do it. You can go the focus group route. You can go the user research route. There's cheap ways to do that online. We could pay just a little bit. Their users are incentivized to win something, but they're going to still answer all of your questions when it comes to a survey. And you can at least grab some additional information that can inform you on whatever you're building as an MVP to test out. But it's hard not to get to something, whatever that may be, to validate if you have something. Prior to that, if you just have a business idea and you have a plan and you write it out, what I encourage you to do is get it out there, get it to people you trust, get it to people that will tell you what's wrong, not that people will tell you how much they love it.
I very much appreciate that difference. Because I feel like all of us know people in our lives who are not necessarily yes men, but somebody that's going to support you no matter what and be like, oh yeah, that's great, you should absolutely go for it. But it's definitely just as important to have people whose opinions you trust, who will tell you if it sucks, right?
Yeah, and by nature, so you don't necessarily gravitate towards those people.
Yeah.
Human nature has you gravitating to people with less conflict at times. So you need to force yourself to get out of your comfort zone to get to those people and get that insight at times.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we have a little less than 20 minutes left in today's chat. I know this time always goes really quickly, so I'm going to try and keep working through questions. But if you are on the line today and have a question you would like to ask, please feel free. I'm happy to hold some space here to see if anybody wants to either come off mute to ask a question, or if you'd like to put it in the chat or DM to me, that is totally fine as well. I don't see anybody come off mute, so we'll keep going through with questions. Oh, Nick, looks like Nicholas, I saw you first. Why don't you come off mute and ask your question, and then Kyla, you can be next.
Hi, Brian, it's Nick from the Knockin.
Hey, Nick.
You're right. Did you have a mentor or someone that gave you inspiration while you were trying to go forward with opening a business?
Yeah, I did. I've had some mentors along the way. Both of them I work for at about.com, which now is Dotdash. You may have noticed Dotdash. And if I call them mentors, they probably don't look at it that way. So I think the most important thing to understand here is you have to seek them out versus them seeking you out. Meaning you have to be the one that initiates it and asks for their time and still reaches out to spend the time, because I know they appreciate doing it. And I appreciate doing it for others, but it's not always that they're the ones reaching out to you. It's you have to be the initiator of this, to go find that mentor for yourself. But they've been helpful for me. And then what I'd say is I'm always looking for people that are wiser than me to talk to. I know for a fact I'm not the smartest one in the room, always. And there's always someone there that I can learn from.
Thank you for that great question. Did you want to ask another before we move on?
No, I'm good for now. Cheers.
All right, thank you so much. Brian, just out of curiosity, when it comes to looking around for mentors, do you think it's more important to find somebody who's in the industry that you're looking to break into, or do you think it's more important to find somebody with experience in entrepreneurship?
I don't think it matters. I think it's just finding the person that's right for you.
Okay.
And
cool.
I remember a mentor could be someone that you talk to once a year just to have a conversation, and they give you these few tidbits of insight that change everything for you, versus the one that I'm going to go meet with you once a month or once every few weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Kyla, I saw you had come off mute. Do you want to come off mute and ask your question? And if anybody else would like to come, to get in, I guess in line to start, there is a raise your hand feature in Zoom. It's different than the reactions. But if you use the raise your hand feature, then everybody gets in line and nobody feels like they got skipped. So if Kyla, if you would like to come off mute and ask your question, and then looks like we had a couple other people that can use the raise your hand. If you don't know how to do that, please feel free to ask in the chat. I'm happy to tell you how to get there. But go right ahead, Kyla.
Hi, thanks, Meg. Hi, Brian. So my name's Kyla Whittington. So my question was really, you talked about the hiring, right? And being specific about who you hire and the culture, right? That builds the culture of the business. My question is specific to the team, right? So when you start a business, more times than not, you kind of build the inner circle. So how do you choose those people to help with your business idea, or have you own the entire part of it, right? Because you have to build, it's almost like those first 5 people you hire. So what are some things that you kind of look for when you're kind of building the foundation of the company within people?
Yeah, so hi Kyla, it's nice to meet you. I look at it from first the founders. So you have a few founders that are starting things up. Let's say you have those in place and everyone has complementary skills. From there, you're really gonna hire people who have a bit more focus. I need someone maybe in marketing, or I need a salesperson, or I need my first VP of engineering or head of product to build something. So I think you want to focus on the expertise and how good they are. 2, you want to, I find it, and it's not everyone that makes a leap between different level sizes of a company. So you want to find someone who has that experience or the willingness to get into the startup world, because being in a startup company is much different than working for a 10,000 person company. And what that person may want to do is much different. So you want to make sure that they do have that startup mentality, that they're going to be a cultural fit for you. And maybe one of the things that you could do that I always recommend is, as your co-founders meet these people, assign one of your different values to each co-founder to figure out how that person fits around it. I'm borrowing that from Amazon, by the way. They do that in their interview process. But dig in there, because it really matters. It's finding someone that all your co-founders can look at and say, this is a good fit. We give thumbs up. We give a thumbs up. This is not that's why I'm come back to the hiring. It's a hard process. You really want to find the right people that are going to stick with you for a few years. And like you said, Kyle, they're building the initial part of your business. They're really that first handful, 2 handfuls of people are core to your business. So you want to make sure that people that fit into the business, that can work hard in a startup environment, because it's not easy, and that have the talent that you need.
We actually have a great question in the chat. I'm gonna butcher your name. I'm so sorry. Mayoran, I believe, wants to know if higher qualification is a must when you're hiring people. Now, I have an opinion on this, but I'd really be interested in yours. What do you think, Brian?
Meaning the qualification of the user coming in, and then they have something you're looking for in terms of their education or their experience?
I'm not sure. Higher qualifications, I was kind of interpreting it to mean educational background,
Yeah.
But I mean, it could absolutely, oh yeah, they want to know in terms of education.
Not for me.
Same here.
Not for me.
Yeah, you can.
You could do whatever you want in this world, especially in this country.
Yeah, agreed.
That's why I say now. It's really about finding the best talent, people that you believe in, and that you believe will also feel the same way about you. And can they adapt? Can they adopt? Can they learn?
Oh yeah, I mean,
we have great employees in at JW Player who their education isn't as much as others, and I don't think about it. It's funny,
yeah.
It's not something that comes to mind. I think 20 years ago, and depending on the role you're in and the industry you're going in, that may matter. But I could say that if you're showing up and you've got serious engineering chops, I watch it. Everyone, our hiring managers, especially on the technical side, everything else gets pushed aside, and what they're looking for, what they're focused on is someone that's got real talent, and they'll bring that person in.
Yeah. And you know what, that probably goes also to the idea of building a company culture, like creating it as opposed to trying to maintain it. You know, if you're talking about somebody that's like in the first 10 employees, then it's probably more important to have somebody that really is flexible and understands your goals and believes in the mission, as opposed to somebody who, you know, comes very highly recommended, but maybe doesn't really believe in what they're doing with you.
That's correct.
Okay. So we've got about 10 minutes left. I'm going to try and get to some other questions that were asked here. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. Megan, you're up next. I am so sorry. Please feel free to come off mute and ask your question.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep. Loud and clear.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Meg.
Hi, Megan.
Namesake. And me and my girlfriends, we just started our own business. And I actually went to my mentor to get this recommendation for this webinar. So my question is a little background. I have certification in UI UX design, and so I am the product lead and creative lead for the team. I have started a checklist of everything to get everything in order, build a good foundation, you know, brand identity, all that. But I wanted to know, is there anything else that I could just like download to just like check off, make sure I'm getting everything?
There's hi, Megan. It's nice to meet you as well.
Thanks.
I would say that there's a lot of resources out there that if you just search starting a small business checklist, you'll find that. And you're talking about the marketing side of it right now, correct? The branding, the logo, the name.
Yeah, well, I got a handle on that. I think just more so like going with LLC versus like C Corp or something like that, as well as like talking to the attorneys about getting contracts made for a partnership, just to make sure that we're all covered, because we are friends, but this is a business. So you want separation, you know, there. Just things that are really important for the working side of the business.
Yeah, there's so one, there's a lot of resources you can go online to do it and have some simple agreements and contracts.
Mhm.
And gosh, I'm trying to think about which was it. Andrew, there's a big VC, maybe it might be Andreessen Horowitz, which is AZ16. One of them put out all these documents. Here's all the documents that are working docs and templates for creating a business, forming a business. Help on documents to raise a safe, which is your initial investment, and it's all out there. And you'll find it if you might not have been with them. It might have been one of the other incubators and startups that did it. It might be Y Combinator. I think actually might have it. If you go to the Y Combinator site, you'll find a ton of documentation on getting started, which they realize that why should you have to pay someone for all of this when you're trying to save every single dollar in your startup. And they want every startup to blossom in the world and have the ability to do it. So if they don't have it, you can definitely find it out here, which is where are my startup docs, and you'll find a bunch of templates out there. They're there for you. And then it's just a matter of you and your partners just agreeing on the terms inside it, what the actual details are in each agreement you do.
Gotcha. And my partner emailed me her question. She couldn't make it today. She asked, what was the best way to market our product? We're starting a charcuterie board business. So if anybody likes charcuterie, hit me up. So she wanted to know the best way to do the marketing, because she's the marketing lead. So we've already like divvied up roles as best as we can, just to kind of even the workload.
So I'm a big fan of charcuteries. Well, love them. Do you mean you're building a real world board, this is a physical board that you're going to go out there and sell?
Yes, so we're going to build the board and also incorporate meats. We want to include Eastern European cultures because my partners are from Eastern Europe. And so we want to bring a little bit of our culture home, just to unite communities through food. You know, who doesn't love a good snack and share?
That's wonderful. I love that.
I love it too. So your question is really, how do you get something like this marketed and started out there? So What I would say is, well, JW Player, we have a lot of customers who are publishers who are food companies, food websites, everyone out there, just about every food, well, at least what we think is every food site out there. It's really easy with a little spend to target that, or even start by targeting the word charcuterie board in Google as a keyword, whether you start as an SEO or you start and you could pay money per click, but you could start to advertise and really find people who are specifically searching for that, which goes after your core audience.
Perfect. Okay, awesome.
I would start there. That might be a great way. And then it'll probably open up more for you as you start to research where everybody's talking about charcuterie boards.
Okay.
But it's out there. I know that because I searched for them during Thanksgiving. I was building one with my daughter, and we went to about 20 different sites.
Yeah, I did a bit of competitive analysis so far. So yeah, there's a ton out there. So we have, creating like, a 3 or 5 year plan and stuff like that. So we have big goals. So
Cool.
remember me,
Heck yeah,
Right.
Megan.
Yeah. Good luck, me.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And just as the experiences that I had, check out your local Chamber of Commerce or Better Business Bureau. A lot of times they will host entrepreneurship like kind of intro seminars. And at least in Toledo, which is not a huge market, but I mean it is a larger city, at least for the area. I mean, there were all kinds of like not necessarily free giveaways, but like coupons for go talk to this person, this attorney about legal docs, or they would provide templates for how to fill out and start building up a business plan, that kind of thing. So if it might be some stuff that you've already got on lock, but just in case, it is usually a free resource that you can tap into, since a lot of cities are realizing that brain drain is huge. And so they have to encourage these local businesses. So definitely take advantage of that if that's at all available in your area. Okay, so we only have about 3 minutes left. I want to make sure that we hold some space here at the end for, thank yous and all that kind of stuff. Now, Brian, we had talked with you earlier. I'm going to share my screen again here. We had talked with you earlier about some of your kind of top tips for both creating a company culture, as well as how you would describe JW Players. Let's talk a little bit about people that are interviewing, though. If somebody's interviewing either with JW Player or with another company, what do you think is the most important thing to know or to prepare in advance for that interview?
Yeah, I wrote down 2 things: be prepared and authentic. So be ready. Do the research on the company. Do the research on the person that's interviewing if you know their name. Try to learn everything about them. Almost be like a PI investigator. You want to understand it, learn about it, so that you could show whoever's interviewing that you've put in the time. That I think that's really important. And the second thing is just be you. Just be you. Don't be anything different. Don't try to be. You could be. I know you're going to be nervous, because I get nervous when things start, and then you loosen up usually. That's how a lot of people act. So, but just be yourself, because that when you're yourself, everything great about you shines through.
Absolutely. So we are almost at the end of our time today, but I just want to say, Brian, huge thank you to you for taking time out of your day to spend with us. It's been really, really nice to get to learn from you this afternoon, and I hope that you had just as much fun as I did.
Thank you so much, Meg. This was wonderful. Thanks for everybody that joined.
Yes, absolutely. Huge thank you to all of our attendees. Big thank you, especially if you weren't able to join us during the live recording, but you sent in questions. Thank you so much. I'm sorry we weren't able to get to all of them, but please feel free. Oh, Megan's putting her information in the chat if you are interested in charcuterie. So absolutely snack attack it, man. Oh my God, that's killing me. Thank you, Megan, for letting us know. But yeah, good luck to everybody who is out there thinking about starting their own business, or whether you are in the middle of your business journey. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I want to encourage all of you to check out some of the great daily chats that we're having the rest of this week into next week. And hopefully we will see you in the future. If you are new to Power to Fly, We are so excited to have you here, and we can't wait to see you. Hopefully you'll join us on an upcoming chat or a different virtual event soon. And if you are one of our frequent flyers, thank you so much for joining us today, and we can't wait to see you on more upcoming chats. I hope everybody has a wonderful Tuesday, and we'll see you later. Bye.